all hell, DC, has broken loose between Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier. For everyone who was lamenting the fact that these two guys were too chummy going into the second fight,
it's gonna happen again.
It's not happening again. What do you make of this whole thing? So I guess things really started to change. Last night, Dustin Poirier comes out and accuses Conor McGregor of not following through on his promise to donate $500,000 to the Good Fight Foundation, said that he has reached out to his team several times, and Dustin says they have not gone back to him, and he put it out there. And Conor is now very upset, to the point where, as of right this moment, has claimed on Twitter that he is calling the fight off because he doesn't like the fact that Dustin has smeared his good name. I mean, the "No More Mr. Nice Guy" tweet is getting spoken into existence. What do you make of all of this?
First off, I had no idea what was happening until this morning. You told me, you read me some of these tweets, and I was like, holy cow, this is getting crazy. So then I went and looked at them all, and you didn't give me the full story. Those guys had a whole conversation on Twitter last night. They went back and forth between each other, and
even Audie Attar got involved. Conor's
manager is like, this is madness, right? You can see that the gloves are off. You know, these guys are the bad blood is becoming very apparent, and I think it's crazy. I understand both sides of this equation. I understand the frustration of Dustin Poirier not receiving the donation when was this fight? January.
He's not even saying the donation. He's saying they haven't even responded.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
So I understand his side of it. I understand that lack of communication, especially when Conor said it and then he was so grateful publicly, right? Because it makes you look like a bit of a fool if it doesn't happen. But I also understand Conor's side. When you're giving that amount of money to something, you want to know where that money's going, because that's why we see a lot of fraud and all those things. It's unfortunate, right? Because you see a lot of that stuff happening within a lot of organizations, nonprofits that are supposed to help kids. So I get both sides of this thing, but I can see how Dustin can become impatient, be like, yo, why aren't you guys talking to me? At least let me know. Then I can show you exactly where this money is going. But I also can see the McGregor side going, hey, I gave X amount of dollars to frontline workers in my country during the pandemic. I've given millions to try to help people get through this situation. Me helping these kids in Louisiana is going to happen, but tell me where it goes. Show me dollar for dollar where this money goes. It's hard to get. It's easier to give a donation, right? And nobody's giving $500,000. But if you give a $5,000 donation, you give the money. The money goes to a person. That person who's responsible for that organization goes and does whatever with that money. That's $5,000. Imagine $500,000. I've got a sponsor for my wrestling team that gives us a good amount of money. We give him an itemized accounting of the flights and everything for those kids to go travel and wrestle, just so that he's secure and knowing that his money goes directly to the kids. So it's I understand. I really do understand.
It's ugly on both sides. First of all, selfishly, I just want to say, I love how people accuse me of only caring about the drama and only caring about, all the storylines and not enough about the fights. Meanwhile, I can't stop getting tweets. Ariel, why aren't you talking about this? Why aren't you? Pick a lane, guys. What do you want? You want the fights or you want the drama?
The guy that's stirring the pot.
Yeah. So the reason I didn't talk about it is I feel like this thing is evolving as we speak. We're about to do a show, so I'm going to talk about it here. So everyone just, cool your jets. Look, it was a nice gesture when it was brought up the first time leading up to the second fight. Very nice. There is no doubt in my mind that Conor's going to follow through. It is not a good look that they haven't responded to Dustin's emails and reaching out. We've seen no indication from Conor, even in the post-fight, that he was going to renege on this deal, because they even talked about it in the post-fight. They had an exchange backstage and whatnot. Dustin putting it out there, it's a bold move, but I can understand his frustration as well. If they're not responding, not even saying hey, we're going to get back to you, you got to respond, right? That's just the way it is. I have no doubt that at some point they will respond and pay, but I get where Dustin's upset right now. I get why Conor is upset too, because it's hey, you're smearing my good name. You're not reaching out to me, this and that. My biggest takeaway from all of this is it's about to get real between these two guys.
They're
And I don't think
the fight though. Connor's telling you the fight's off, but why, if a guy's pissing you off, why would you take the fight off? You want to fight him.
He's trying to say, I'm the man who made this. Like, they met recently.
He said something about Dustin taking his fight with him over the title, right? Like, that was another.
Oh yeah, he's saying I hold all the cards here. I'm the one who calls the shots. You don't call the shots. You don't put my dirty laundry out there for the world to see, all that stuff. So I think he's doing that.
And we both
Conor
know,
wants revenge.
We both know, we both know McGregor has had enough bad press recently to where he doesn't need a fighter showing that something like that, right? Like, I don't need you to smear my good name. Like, I've had to go through enough to get to.
This is going to get ugly, though. This is going to get really ugly, right? I mean, to put that out there
publicly. Because here's the thing, right? Like, for Dustin to do that, maybe because Conor will put stuff publicly himself.
Yeah.
Right? We've seen him do it himself. So
DMs, all that stuff.
With DMs and all that stuff. So now I think all that niceness is done. And you're going to start to see two guys that you want that. In the trilogy, you want a little bit of bad blood.
I don't think any Conor fan wants to see him not follow through on that donation. I don't think anyone involved in the sport wants to see it go down that road. I do think if you're a Conor fan, you're like, oh, this is the Conor that I fell in love with, right? The Conor was a fighter who's not trying to be, Mr. Nice Guy, donating to charity, all this stuff. Like, you want to see the bad boy Conor. That's the one who got to this point.
I would like to see McGregor, even if he's back to his old ways, him donating to charities is not it's not a knock on the attitude change, because reality is this: the most violent and mean fighters of all time still donate. I mean, there are times I bet
100%.
Mike Tyson. Mike 100%. Tyson's probably donated countless amounts of money to charities around the country and around the world to try to help people. Conor needs to be himself and go fight in a way. I don't even think that it's just a matter of his attitude. He needs to fix that thing. If he cannot counter those kicks, he's going to get beat again.
Right.
And Dustin Poirier will go back to the well. So, and we said this on Saturday. I was like, I don't know if the more time that passes, the better it is for McGregor to try to learn. Because 3 months, if he would have fought him again in April, I don't think that's enough time to learn how to counter and defend that kick. And also, you got to let that recover, man. Once you get beat up like that, it's a matter of it just getting touched again, and you start to feel the same exact pain.
Yeah, of course, the buildup doesn't necessarily translate to anything in the actual fight. I just think if you're trying to believe that he's back to his old ways, it's all well good. But let me be very, very clear. Right? Oh, let me be very clear. Like, this is not a good look for anyone involved, right? No. Like, no one wants to be known as someone who makes a promise to donate that kind of money to charity and doesn't follow through. And for Dustin, I understand that he's very frustrated. So I reached out to their team. Things are said online, but you want to know that's part of the reason why I didn't talk about it online. Adi did tell me they have every intention on following through. They were just trying to wait for more information. That's what he said. We never once discussed not following through after the fight, all that stuff. I would like to believe him. I reached out to Conor. He didn't respond as of right this moment to get his side of the story. Of course, we're seeing him tweet. But, I mean, I would like to think that he's not that kind of guy. I would like to think that he is going to follow through on this. But, man.
I believe he will.
Yeah.
I really do believe that he will. I don't think he's not going to give that donation. You just don't want to see these types of things out in the public, because ultimately you're dragging something that was so positive into a really dark.
Well, it's for kids and
that's the problem.
Right.
And I know, right, being from Lafayette, I know what that type of money how it would help those kids in the areas that Dustin is helping kids. And again, the Good Fight Foundation has done nothing but help and provide in our hometown. So I know there may be organizations where people will take money and donations and keep it. Does not seem like Dustin and Jolie are doing that, because all the money that they're getting, they're putting back into the community, right?
No.
I can vouch for that the money that they're receiving, they're putting back into Lafayette, because you can see it. Even the Boys and Girls Club that I went to growing up, they've given countless dollars to help those kids with after school work and tutor and everything. They built a park, a playground in an underprivileged area. They're doing the right things in our community. So all those accolades that Dustin are getting, Key to the City, Dustin Poirier Day, these are things that are coming to fruition based on the platform and his ability to be in front of people. But at the root of it, it should really be about all the actions that are done underneath to help the community that allow for him to receive all this press and all the way they're honoring him back in Lafayette, because he's doing a fantastic job.
I'll just end with this on this particular topic, because this is a bit of, he said, it's ugly. I would like to sit here and believe this will get figured out.
Yes.
Miscommunication, maybe the right person isn't respond. Whatever the case is, I would like to believe that this is all going to be figured out. And it's adding some, it's adding some buzz, some hype to the fight. I still believe as of right this moment, the fight is going to happen on July 10th. That's probably most important for the fans. I know everyone's loving this. They're grabbing their popcorn. They love when the dirty laundry is aired, but I would like to believe this is just a misunderstanding and miscommunication, and it will all get figured out. So let's just leave it at that. Let's move along to another somewhat controversial